Jorinda and Jorindel, a long fairy tale told gently long ago. There was a deep and gloomy forest that people avoided whenever they could. The trees in this forest were ancient and tall, their branches tangled together so tightly that very little sunlight ever reached the ground. Even at noon, the forest felt dark and quiet, as if the world inside it moved more slowly than the world outside. Right in the middle of this forest stood an old stone castle, cold and silent, with walls covered in moss and vines. This castle was feared by everyone because inside it lived an old fairy who was known for her cruelty and dark magic. This fairy was very powerful and could change her shape whenever she wished. During the day, she often flew through the forest as a great owl, watching travelers with burning eyes. Sometimes she crept silently through the countryside in the form of a black cat, listening to conversations and spying on people. But every night, when darkness fell, she returned to her true form, an old woman with gray hair, deep wrinkles, and a face full of bitterness. She hated being old, hated the way her hands shook and her back bent, yet no spell could make her young again. This failure filled her heart with anger, and over time that anger turned her into a cruel ruler of the castle. The fairy made strict rules with her magic. If any young man came within 100 paces of her castle, he would suddenly become frozen to the spot, unable to move or speak until she chose to release him. When she finally did, she would warn him never to return. But if any young maiden came that close, the fairy would change her into a bird, most often a nightingale, and lock her inside a small cage. Inside the castle hung 700 such cages, each holding a beautiful bird that had once been a young girl. The fairy was proud of this collection and often walked among the cages, listening to the birds sing for her alone. Not far from this terrible forest lived a young maiden named Jorinda. She was gentle, kind, and known for her beautiful singing voice. Jorinda loved simple joyous flowers, quiet walks, and warm evenings. She was deeply in love with a young shepherd named Jorindel. Jorindel was honest and hard-working, spending his days caring for sheep and his evenings dreaming of a future with Jorinda. The two had promised to marry, and their love was strong and sincere, filled with hope and trust. One evening, as the sun began to set, Jorinda and Jorindel decided to walk together through the woods. The air was calm, and golden light filtered through the trees. Jorinda laughed and ran ahead playfully, while Jorindel followed, reminding her not to go too far. They climbed a small hill and sat down to rest, enjoying the peaceful beauty around them. Birds sang softly, and the forest seemed gentle and welcoming. But as the sun sank lower, an uneasy feeling came over them. When they stood to return home, they could not find the path. The forest looked different now, darker and unfamiliar. Suddenly Jorindel turned and saw the old castle walls behind them. Fear washed over him, but it was too late. Jorinda began to sing softly, as she often did when she felt nervous, but her song broke off in the middle. Before Jorindel's eyes, she began to change. Her arms became wings, her body grew smaller, and in moments she was a nightingale. An owl circled above them, and the old fairy appeared, smiling cruelly. She seized the bird and vanished into the castle, while Jorindel stood frozen, unable to move or speak. When night fell, the fairy returned and sang a strange song that released him. Jorindel fell to his knees and begged her to return Jorinda, but she only laughed and walked away. Broken with sorrow, Jorindel wandered far from home, unable to face life without the woman he loved. He worked as a shepherd in a distant village, but every day his heart was heavy. Often he walked as close to the castle as he dared, hoping to hear Jorinda's voice, yet he never did. Despair slowly filled his soul. One night, after many months of sorrow, Jorindel had a dream. He dreamed of a beautiful purple flower growing alone on a hillside. In the center of the flower lay a shining dewdrop as bright as a pearl. In his dream, this flower broke every spell it touched and restored all that had been lost. When he awoke, his heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. He believed the dream was a sign. For 9 days, Jorindel searched the hills and valleys. At last, on the 9th day, he found the purple flower, with the dewdrop shining at its center. Holding it carefully, he returned to the castle. This time, the spell did not stop him. He walked past 100 paces, touched the door, and entered. Inside, he heard hundreds of birds singing. When the fairy tried to escape with a cage, Jorindel touched it with the flower, and Jorinda stood before him once more. He freed all the other birds, returning them to human form. Finally, he sprinkled the dewdrop on the fairy herself, turning her into a nightingale and locking her in a cage forever. With the curse broken, Jorindel and Jorinda returned home, married, and lived happily together, along with many others who had been saved from the fairy's dark magic.